Don't you ever sometimes feel like frustrated because while watching a film, you realize that you have ideas of how this movie could have been better? This happened to me with the films that we're gonna talk about, and as you read by the title, what we're gonna do today is we're going to discuss horror movies that in my opinion had wasted potential. So if you're interested, sit back, relax, and welcome back to another video. Jungle of love. So what I mean by horror movies with wasted potential is that these films are not necessarily bad movies. What I mean is that all of these films had like a great concept in mind to be portrayed, but they decided to be either boring, cliche, stupid, and like without sense. And it's such a shame because I wish these movies could have used their concept to the maximum level. So the first film that we're gonna talk about is Hostel 3. Do you feel lucky? Set in Las Vegas, the film centers on a man who attends his best friend's bachelor party, unaware of an insidious agenda that plays into hunting humans. Now, the main reason why I think this movie has wasted potential is because I'm not the biggest fan of the Hostel trilogy, but I have to say that the first two films are so sinister, creepy, disturbing, and real. This film decided to be stupid, cheesy for no reason when it's the third part of two very disturbing films. And it takes place in Las Vegas, so that's one of my issues because Las Vegas is such a big place, especially for a slasher, especially for like torture films. So they could have used this casino where this movie takes place in a better way. I wish the characters, the leads that we are following, they will have written better and that they will have feel more real. The second film will be Jigsaw. A new game begins. Dead bodies begin to turn up all over the city, each meeting their demise in a variety of grisly ways. All investigations begin to point the finger at the deceased killer John Kramer. Now, if you know me, you know that I love the Saw franchise. It's one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. So I was really excited when this movie came out because obviously it came out after like 7 years after the last movie, which was Saw 3D. Jigsaw is very purely executed because obviously the traps are very lame and the characters are so bad written. The gore, it depends. The gore is great, but because the traps are not that amazing, you don't really care about the gore. And that's one of the things that I love about the first 7 films, and is that the traps are so original, the gore is beautiful, and it surprises me because this movie came out in 2017, and in 2017 technology was like, it's great, but they didn't decide to use it. Honestly, the storyline is kind of interesting because it feels like the first film, because it's like police officers are trying to follow the murders in the city, but they don't push that. The characters, they just don't even make sense at all. And to be a Saw film, like to be part of the Saw franchise, in my opinion, you need good traps, good gore, and a great storyline all combined, and Jigsaw lacked of. The next thing will be Rings. Evil is reborn. Julia becomes worried about her boyfriend when he explores the dark urban legend of a mysterious videotape said to kill the watcher 7 days after viewing. She sacrifices herself to save her boyfriend, and in doing so makes a horrifying discovery. There is a movie within the movie that no one has ever seen before. Now, what can I say about Rings? I don't know if this is supposed to be a remake or a reboot or the remake from the remake, so it's very confusing, and that's one of the main issues from this film because it doesn't define what it wants to be. Now, another thing that I don't like about this film is that because obviously this film contains one of the most iconic horror icons from horror history, and it's Samara, and they didn't decide to use her properly, especially because this film is taking place in a very modern era with technology and stuff. This film came out in 2017 and they didn't decide to use that properly. Obviously we have a great scene on a plane. I really like that scene, and I think this movie could have been better if it just didn't follow the same formula as the original or as the remake. The next film will be Eden Lodge, and I don't think anyone has ever heard about this film before. Enjoy your stay. A young couple arrive at the retreat in the English countryside in the hope of saving their marriage, but when the people around them start to be picked up off by a vicious killer, the weekend becomes a matter of saving their lives. The first thing that I have to say is that this movie was boring, and it's such a shame because the synopsis says vicious killer, England countryside, saving their marriage. It becomes a survival, but the movie doesn't do that. And I think my issue with the film is that they had the idea and the concept of being a slasher in a home invasion. Sometimes I feel like I was watching a porno because of the scenes. Some scenes are so cringy and so erotic for no reason, and I really didn't enjoy that. The vicious killer is so lame, and this is such a copycat from other horror films that we know. The next film will be Central Park. Revenge waits for them. School is boring, family life unbearable, and Harold and his high school friends have turned Central Park into their spot. A revenge-seeker executor prepares to kill them off one by one to pay for the sins of the father. Now, one of the main reasons why I was really excited about checking Central Park is because it's a slasher taking place in Central Park, so I was really looking forward because obviously Central Park is so big and it's perfect and it works so well for chase scenes. But where this film fails is because this is supposed to be a slasher, and the killer is portrayed as such a big guy or whatever, and the kills are so forgettable. I don't know if it's because they had low budget, but honestly it's not an excuse. This movie came out in 2017, and I think you can make great kills with a low budget because you just need great makeup and a great shot to make it look like a great death scene, and this movie didn't have that. And it's such a shame because the location could have been such a great place for a serial killer. The next film will be Wrong Turn 4, A Bloody Beginning. Frost is not the only thing that bites in the snow. A group of friends take refuge in a deserted sanitarium after they are left in a snowstorm. Later, the place becomes a death trap when man-eating cannibals surround them. Now, obviously, the Wrong Turn franchise is very messy. I don't enjoy most of these films, but Wrong Turn 4 had the beautiful concept of explaining the backstory of our serial killers that we know from the first 3 films. It had the opportunity to explain how they became what they are, and it takes place in the snow. It's a winter horror. They could have used this a little bit more, they could have explained this a little bit more. Obviously the acting is one of the worst actings I have ever seen, and the gore is great, don't get me wrong, the kills are very innovative, but I don't know, they also used so much CGI and it doesn't even make sense because, for example, the first film came out 8 years before this, and the practical effects on that film are gorgeous. But this film just decided to be so forgettable, and it's such a shame because they could have just made this franchise a 4-movie franchise, and this could have been such a great closure because it would have been the prequel of the first 3. The next film will be the Utah Cabin Murders. Don't look, don't breathe, don't move. 2 sisters fight for survival when masked intruders invade their vacation cabin. Now, I have to say that I was really excited to watch this film because it's home invasion and obviously it's about murders. It's based on true events, and this movie fails first of all because it's very boring. It also fails because these killers are so annoying. They're not disturbing, they don't make you feel scared, like for example the strangers, because the strangers are fantastic, and the Utah Cabin Murders just decides to be very annoying, or at least the sisters that are not believable at all. What's happening to them is so terrifying. This concept is so terrifying, and I just wish this movie could have just decided to be simple. Now let's talk about the last 2 films, and the first one will be The Curse of La Giorona. She Wants Your Children. A social worker dealing with the disappearance of 2 children fears for her own family after beginning the investigation. Now, what can I say? What can I say about this film? The main reason why this movie has a wasted potential is because this legend of La Llorona is amazing. Like, this concept and this legend terrified so many people for generations. Like, I remember my grandma telling me this story, okay? I remember my mom when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. So this concept has been forever. So when I saw that there was gonna be a film about La Llorona, I was so excited. But what did the movie decided to be? A plain, poor, lazy movie taking place in Los Angeles. It just didn't make any kind of sense. The movie decides to follow a white American family. Again, very boring. I think this movie should just have taken place in Mexico with a Mexican family in Spanish, because that's what La Llorona is about. La Llorona is a Latin legend. It takes place in Mexico. So I don't know why they decided to do this in USA. And at the same time, the look of La Llorona is a bit of creepy, but it could have been better, because honestly, when I was reading the books when I was a kid about La Llorona, those drawings were terrifying. Honestly, I think it's such a shame, because this could have easily been one of the best horror films from the last decade, because this legend is so terrifying. And the last film we're gonna talk about is Would You Rather. Desperate to help her brother, a young woman agrees to compete in a deadly game of Would You Rather, hosted by a sadistic Aristoc. But the main reason why this movie has wasted potential is because honestly this movie felt inspired by Saw, and I have to say that I was really interested, because obviously the concept was a bit creepy, like people are trying to look for money and they decide to do these and stuff. So it's like, it's a bit of social commentary, because people will do this in real life, and this movie becomes so slow, so annoying. Like the traps doesn't even make sense. Like, it's so repetitive. This movie is draining. Like, you will feel the movie, you will feel that it's slow. On top of that, the acting is not the best, except for our lead. The ending is kind of shocking, because you don't see it coming, but by the time the end arrives, you just don't care about anything, because the whole movie is boring. I would have used this movie to make different of kind of like games. Very disturbing, because obviously the game is Would You Rather. It had so many options to play with that title, because would you rather do this, would you rather do that, but the movie decided to be very repetitive, and that was so annoying. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree, and please let me know in the comment section below if you have horror movies with wasted potential. I would love to read them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, give a like and leave a comment, and I will see you on the next video. Have a nice end of the week, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.